been a while since I've been on the mic. Summer is over now, and just as the summer is over, we almost, I think, 12 months since our last review webinar. So in between these two webinars, we've had 10 major releases and a few point releases where we had to fix some bugs that we deemed as urgent for our customers. As we do every year, we have lots of improvements, both for developers and IT professionals. So we started Advanced Installer over 20 years ago as a tool for developers, but in the last decade, it also grew a lot with a lot of features for IT professionals. And we have some new ones ready for you. If you've missed our latest releases, here today you'll find out those updates. So we'll start talking about some security improvements in Advanced Installer. These are both useful to developers and IT professionals, but the request came mainly from the developer side, so people building their own packages. The SBOM support is a new integration we've built in Advanced Installer over the summer. It allows you to integrate audit files of your package contents. And in those files, it is basically defined the contents of your application, both the binaries that you build and deploy and the binaries that you might deploy from other libraries together with your application. This is a standard developed by an open group of companies. It's not something we've developed. It's basically a worldwide adopted standard for ensuring the integrity of the packages. And it's been recommended by the US federal government as a default for any application that is purchased and deployed inside the US government infrastructure. And now private companies are also adopting this. You will find many tools online, usually open source tools that can generate an SBOM. These are dedicated tools just to generate the report. Those are not, from what I know up until this point, there is no other installer that has any integration of this kind or other tool that can help you build, install, and integrate the reports with your development pipeline. After we evaluated some of them, even the premise of building on our own tool to generate this report, because this is an open standard which is publicly documented, we decided to use the Microsoft SBOM tool. We've worked with Microsoft in the past, and we've had a good experience, which is not something you can always say. And we've decided that this provides the best experience in speed, in quality of the reports file, because there are some particularities in how the files are chosen to be built by those reports are chosen to be built by each tool. And overall, the file is easy to read and parse, so you can just after you activate the report generation, build your installer, and have a look inside your installation folder. You can check the contents of the file. It's a text file with information about the binaries included in your package. It's similar with the block map file that maybe you've seen in MSIX packages, for those that have been curious to check out what's inside of an MSIX package. And it helps increase the trust of your application and of your brand with the customers. And it might even help unblock situations with where customers demand this is included by mandatory in your packages. We've received a few requests ourselves too, and I can confirm that starting with the next version of Advanced Installer 23.1, an SBOM will be included by default in any package built in the setup package of Advanced Installer. For your own packages, you have to activate this. This option is not activated by default. It will consume a few more seconds during your build time, but other than that, it's smooth as sailing, just a checkbox to enable it in new or existing projects. We've done a few other security updates. The most important one is the one for the LN's MA SDK. which was updated to version 24.09, and the CV security update with regards to remote execution vulnerability in the 7-zip SBA. So this is an SDK that we use when you build setup exes with compressions activated in those options for your packages if you want to reduce the package size. We might use it in the repackager also to extract some ISO images, but there might be another way to do that there. So I'm not entirely sure at this moment. Either way, it's always best to have the latest version of libraries included in your application. So don't forget to update those, even if you have in other applications not related to Advanced Installer. Another major feature that we've been working on over the last year is something new that we haven't done before. We actually have built many installer teams in the past, but all of those were based on the Windows Installer framework and Windows Installer dialogues. And this new suite team, as we call it, is different because this one uses a setup launcher, like a different bootstrapper that gives you a store-like experience, if you want to call it this way, which allows you to manage multiple installers. So we designed this starting from the feedback we've had in the past with users that build have multiple applications built by their company. Let's say you have a video editor and a screenshot editor, or a suite of applications for CAD tools, or something, or a suite of applications for developers, depending on the niche of your company. We've also seen customers that simply build suite installers to deploy third-party applications inside their company, just to make it easier for their employees to pick which applications they want to have set up on their machines or updated and so on. So our team built a separate project in Advanced Installer. If you start Advanced Installer, and I think I can show you that it's going to be very quick. If you start Advanced Installer and create a new project, you'll find this new suite installer entry here in your start page, and this will create a new project that allows you to just focus on the settings for this type of project and hides many other options that you have in regular Advanced Installer projects. There you can specify the sources for your applications here in this screenshot, and you can see more details about this feature in a previous webinar done by my colleagues. You can search it on our YouTube channel. There's a playlist with all the webinars there. In this demo, the guys built a suite installer that installs Advanced Installer and Packet, which is a new application that we've launched last year. And you can manage both of those applications separately. And in the future, you can also receive updates for them and so on, completely separate from the current auto-updated experience that we have. Another thing that makes this installer unique is that it's the first UI team that we're making open source, because it's not based on the Windows MSI installers, Windows Installer MSI framework. And it's just a launcher that is managing other packages. We can open source that launcher and make it available for you to customize it as you want. By default, it comes with a full WinUI template design with all of our defaults, but you can change that as you wish. And in the future, we will probably also release versions of it in C#. But it depends on the feedback we get from you, and we'll have to set some priorities because we already have some improvements on our to-do list. This was released about a month ago, and some of the things that we wanted to improve we knew before we released it, but we didn't want to delay it anymore. And some are coming from other users via our support channels. So feel free to download the launcher from our GitHub repository and play with it, or just play with the default as I showed you in our project. On GitHub, we also plan to launch to populate more samples article, so you'll find there more samples in the futures with the different examples on how to use advanced installer. Make sure to subscribe to our repository for updates. Since we're still talking about UI, and many of you probably know we've adopted WinUI a few years back, and we've done a lot of work to continuously integrate it in the interface of Advanced Installer. It helped us to replace older UI frameworks like HTML UI or basic Win42 UI controls in certain area that were basically outdated and not a proper fit for a modern operating system and a modern application. And because this is the default UI framework recommended by Microsoft, we decided to also make it usable for our users. So just before the 2024 review, if I remember correctly, we released support for the updater to run in a WinUI version, but it wasn't customizable. Over the winter, my colleagues built a theme editor, which you can now find in the personalized tab in updater view, as you see in my screenshot here. And there you can customize a lot of the UI elements that you have in your updater dialogues. You'll also get some previews in Advanced Installer on those changes. And you can also work with your design team to make sure that you're matching the color scheme and design framework that you have included in your application, adopted in your application. This will also be our new default for the Advanced Installer updater that you'll basically start to see in the coming months. And we hope you'll like it. But most important is that you adopt it and create a better experience, provide a better experience to your users. Now I'm going to switch to updates for IT pros. Some of these will also be relevant to software developers like these ones here. But you need to tread carefully and make sure which one you want to apply and which one you don't in your application. In this case, we've added predefined custom actions that allow you to copy files and register your folders to multiple user profiles. This is a common way for IT professionals to initialize and set customized defaults for applications that they package and deploy in their infrastructure. But it might also be attractive to developers building their own application that they want to make sure it's customized and setting all the defaults for all of the users. I would caution developers to use such techniques to do it. The recommended way for software vendors that maintain up-to-date applications is to handle such kind of default configurations directly from your own code, from your application. The first time when the user launches the application on that user account, you can see easily if it has any defaults, configure and set those defaults from your code and initialize the user experience. But even so, depending on your case or maybe some testing scenario, this functionality might be useful to get the work done. We know that IT professionals, and we've recommended in the past to use self-healing or active setup, and those are still usable with Advanced Installer. But with our growing user base, we had to comply and also give it a much easier option for them to pre-configure the applications on their machines. Lots of MSIX updates. Actually, not all of them are fitting on my slides, but you can find them in our release notes. And in the future, you also see a separate release notes page on our website that will make it easier for you to track the MSIX changes in Advanced Installer. The most important one is that we've added support for enterprise users to also edit and fix their MSIX packages. So for those of you that don't know our editions very well, we have the Professional Enterprise editions, which allow you to create MSIX packages from scratch. But you cannot repackage or edit existing MSIX packages. If you want to do that, you need the Architect Edition, which is the most powerful edition designed for IT professionals, where you can repackage, integrate virtual machines, edit MSI packages, edit MSIX packages, basically anything that Advanced Star can do is available in that edition. We believe very much that that edition is the best tool to create MSIX packages, but we are also aware that lots of you are using the MSIX packaging tool to build the tools, to build the packages, and we don't blame you. It's free, it's coming from Microsoft, it's hard to argue against it. But we know that you have problems with the compatibility of those packages. Adding PSF fixups, it's not that easy in in the MSIX packaging tool, and many other scenarios are also not treated. So if you're lucky and have a package that works with a default, that's great. Just go on and use the Microsoft packaging tool. But if you're not lucky, which we see in over 55% of the packages, you might need to do some work and edit those packages. And that's the case where we recommend you get the MSIX editor, which is now much more accessible in our enterprise edition. It's less than half the price of an architect edition. And you can edit the packages and fix them using our support for app compatibility and PSF. And all the features available in Advanced Star when it comes to MSIX editing. And of course, you can also create packages from scratch with the enterprise editions and all the other features included in that edition. For MSIX, we've also added support for native desktop shortcuts. This was on our list for some time. We've explored it in the past. We found some bugs, and the way Microsoft was exposing this support in their native manifest. And now it was almost ready to be included, so we decided to make it available. Hopefully there won't be any changes or breaking stuff from Microsoft on how they treat these shortcuts, because we have no control on the native shortcuts included in their manifest. We just declare them following their schemas. The rest is done by the operating system. You will see that Advanced Installer can still create desktop shortcuts, which are handled by our launcher, by our you can call it the PSF launcher, but it's actually our own launcher, which was built before PSF, and then we integrated PSF in it. So the history is backwards on this one. So that launcher can create shortcuts, and it's useful if you want to create shortcuts maybe for batch file or for a help file that's a CHM file or something that's not covered by the standard shortcut declaration now available in the MSIX manifest, in the Apex manifest from Microsoft. So in projects built with Advanced Installer, you might see two shortcuts on the desktop, one using the native support from Microsoft, one using our support. And if you ever wonder why we do that, it's because not all the targets are supported as valid targets for a desktop shortcut in the Microsoft implementation. And you can find more details in our docs, and also always contact our support team to understand how that works. Alongside that, some various context menu improvements. We always discover some cases we've missed there or Microsoft has missed, and we need to treat them. Now you can package progressive web apps and define the entry point for your application directly from the applications view in Advanced Installer. This will be handled automatically by us. And we've also managed to publish the support for custom install actions, which, unlike the name suggests, is the support to basically run other packages from your main packages. You can't really run any action that you want as you would do with custom actions in MSI. If you want to run scripts, you just need to use the PSF support to run PowerShell scripts, and you have two triggers when you launch and when you close the application. But the custom install action support is something that Microsoft has mentioned a few years back, but never properly documented. And if I remember correctly, their motive was that they are making this functionality available only to select customers to solve some integration issues like gaming packages or other kinds of stuff. And it was disabled for other packages. But in the last year, we've seen some docs appearing online on various forums that allowed us to understand how the custom install actions works, and we could complete the integration in Advanced Installer. The only thing that's worth mentioning here is that you would need to activate developer mode on the machines where you install the MSIX packages. Otherwise, the custom install actions will be ignored, and basically your third-party package will be skipped from installing. We don't know if this will change. I doubt it will change to Microsoft, but it might still be useful in certain scenarios where you have like internal apps, something that you're using for testing, or you trust the source of the application, and you can temporarily enable and disable developer mode on the machines where you're deploying that application. This needs a serious consultation with your security team and when making some changes. Over the last 20 months or so, we've also been working on a new tool that we're building for IT professionals. So in the last 10 years or so, since we're building Advanced Installer we're integrating repackaging and packaging features into Advanced Installer, we've seen requests from packagers that do not fit the workflow of a packaging tool itself. And we've resisted with some of them, with some not, and we tried to integrate them in Advanced Installer in not such a way, in a way that we didn't like it that much. And in the end, we decided to create a new application. It's called Packit. You can find it on getpackit.com. You can also find links on advancedinstaller.com that points towards it. And it's a new tool that allows you to manage multiple applications, multiple packages from a central workspace. It doesn't require the database. Everything is stored locally or on a network share. You can manage assignments for your Entra ID groups from there, import information from your PSADT packages, and just upload that with one click to your Entra, to your Intune tenant. The last version now that will be released next week will also include the support to import packages from SCM, so you can easily migrate those to Intune. We already support digital signing for MSIX packages, and we've been working on extending it for any PowerShell scripts included in your package, so you can easily mitigate limitations of scripts that are not signed. On top of that, it has lots of minor improvements, like allowing you to clone settings from a package. So if created a package for version 21.1, as it's seen in my screenshot here, you've customized the command lines, maybe added some groups for assignments and icons and other description of your package, or maybe even a custom PSADT script. With a simple right click and clone on your package, you can just reuse all of those settings when creating a new version of the package and including that into your application. We plan to grow this list of features one at a time based on the feedback you received. We've done 7 releases so far, and hopefully next year we'll be able to keep the same release path tempo as we have for Advanced Installer and get to 1 release each month. That was a target that we were trying to hit this summer, but we still had to focus a lot more on Advanced Installer than on the new tool to get there. And we're still learning on how to split our focus between 2 applications. So to recap all these major changes, in the Enterprise Edition, we've now included the MSIX editor, which is available if you have an existing Enterprise Edition, or if not, just update, renew your maintenance or subscription, and you'll have access to it starting with version 23.0. We've also released a time-limited bundle, which allows you to have a license for the Packit Plus edition for if you buy an architect license, or if you already are an architect user with the maintenance plan up to date. All the other features you've seen, the suite installer, the SBOM report, and updater UI, the UI editor for the updater, are available to architect and enterprise users. We've also deprecated support for Server 2016 and 2019. But in 2019, you can still run Advanced Installer via command line. So starting version 22.7 onwards, if you need to run, if you still have like a build server, usually that's the case we've seen with a few users, but very few users from our experience, that hasn't been yet upgraded. Your build scripts will still run, but you cannot open the IDE of Advanced Installer. This is because we've completely migrated to WinUI 2.0, and there are some limitations on that support in Server 2019. So don't forget to check out GitHub repository to get a sample, test all of those things that we've shown depending on your needs, and of course, make sure that you're covered by our security updates if you haven't updated recently. We know from our experience about 10 to 15% of our users update each month, depending on the release cycle. And we are aware that you need to test the packages and it's not feasible to update every month. But as you can understand, some of these updates are more useful to others than not at a certain point in time. And it's recommended that you update at least twice a year. That's not something that's going to take you that much time. And if you have feedback on how we can make that experience more easier for you, don't forget to share it with us. One thing that I forgot is to mention that with the launch of this packet bundle between Advanced Installer and packet, we also developed an integration in Advanced Installer where you can easily go to the deployment page in your project and with one click just have that package configured and all of its information passed into packet, so it's easy for another team to deploy it inside your company. For the next version, Advanced Installer, that will be released in a couple of weeks, if not this one, depending on how testing goes. Two major highlights that I wanted to share with you. We're having support for Visual Studio 2026. It was tested with a preview version of Visual Studio. Everything looks okay. It should be up in the marketplace very soon. And we've also added the MSIX App Installer UI, which is something that we've explored last year. And we actually postponed because the documentation from Microsoft, again, wasn't working as expected. Even now, we've discovered some cases where some MSIX bundle just ignored the settings on various machines. But the main concept is that using the options from our project, you can find the options in the Builds page, App Installer tab. You can customize various UI elements from the App Installer dialog that you see in this screenshot. So you can say, enable it to use or not the action, the color of the end user running the installation, or set a custom color for background, or set an icon or hide the icon, or set the title for the dialog, or hide certain elements from the dialog. It's not as flexible as with an MSI dialog, where you can basically customize anything from the table, as long as you have the published events to go to the next and the previous dialog. But it gives you a little bit more flexibility when compared to the fixed layout that Microsoft has given us in the last years. Some plans for 2026, and then we'll skip to the questions. We usually have a quarter planning every 3 months. We'll have one at the beginning of October, after or before we come back from App Manic event. So if any of you will be there, don't forget to say hi to our team at the booth and tell us what you think about it and stuff. And for the next quarters, we're planning to explore some integrations for the auto updater with the various cloud platforms to see how we can make it easier for you to deploy your updates and get your users to use the latest version of your application. We're also exploring some Winget integrations, both from side of helping you generate Winget manifests for your packages, or also making it easier for Winget itself to manage packages built by Advanced Installer, no matter who's building those manifests or not. And these will be separate updates. Some are contributions to the Winget open source repository managed by Microsoft, and we need to sync with them to have those integrated. And some are directly changes in advanced installer, which you will see much faster, most likely in the next quarter. Some other MSIX improvements that you'll see mostly related to the experience of fixing the packages with recommendations and fix-ups. Some are things that we already do, but are not so transparent from a packaging perspective, and we're revamping the UI and the user experience to help it make it easier for you to understand what changes Advanced Installer is doing in the package and what is not change or what cannot be fixed, because there are some cases that we cannot fix. I think I will show some glimpses of this at the next month conference. And if not, you'll see this in future webinars. We're also planning to deprecate the support for device guard signing soon. We haven't set a fixed date on it. We know that Microsoft is also in the process of deprecating it. And they recommended to switch to using Azure Trusted Signing, which we and many of our users have been doing this for over a year now, or any other source that provides your certificate. You can also use external tools, not just this one, to provide a secure signing profile for your application. For Packet, the most biggest improvement that will come in the next month will be related to automated patching, and this is basically a series of improvements that will help you define install conditions with better defaults from our side, because you can already define now install and install detection and install rules for your applications in Intune, but we want to help you with better defaults, so you don't have to manage those manually for all of your applications. We're revamping the Intune authentication to make it even more smoother. And I think the PSAGT updates for version 4.0 and 4.1 are already in development, so those will probably be released in the next quarter. Along these, there are other improvements we're discussing. Some of them might be ready to be shared with you, but not all of them. So as time passes by, we'll make sure to inform you. Just follow our monthly release notes emails and see what's new. So we have one question here from Adeni. I'm new to packaging. How will this help, or where do I start from? So Adeni, there are lots of things to packaging. If you, depending on what you start, I would recommend start with MSI packaging. Don't go into MSIX packaging directly until you don't understand MSI packaging. We have a series of articles and even 2 books on our site, or one is for MSI packaging and one is for MSIX packaging. I recommend you start with the book on MSI packaging, which talks all about the basics of application packaging, and it provides some nice hints to transitions to MSIX in the future. But you have plenty of information there to get started, and links on how to use our free edition and other free tools from the community. A new question from Richard. Since code signing certificates are an important part of the packaging, are there any plans for Advanced Installer to become a certificate authority, or to partner with another certificate authority to make the purchase, integration, and screening process any smoother for the user? At the moment, we don't plan to become a certificate authority, or to work with any of them on being basically a reseller. We don't have a preference for any of them, even if that might have seemed like maybe I'm recommending the Azure Trusted Signing a little bit more in the last 2 years. This is basically because we decided to use that one. Being an Azure customer and an Azure partner, it was the easiest way for us to go. But it doesn't mean it's the easiest way for you. Maybe you already use certificates from DigiCert or other big vendors that provide them. What I recommend you be careful with all the cloud certificates providers is check their quota. So most of them have a quota of signed files that you can sign in their default subscription. And after you go over that quota, you need to pay separately for additional signing operations. This was never a headache in the past, because you would have the certificate on a thumb drive or on just locally installed on your machine, so you could sign as many files as you wanted. But now, because each signing operation is basically a request to a server managed by that certificate authority, They thought it would be a great idea to limit us on the number of signatures we do. For us, building an application that we release every month with daily builds for our testing team, we skip signing the branch builds. So we test each branch, each Git branch separately. We don't sign those, but we have a daily build that we sign. And we never had a problem with the quotas. But we've had a few customers that were hitting close to those quotas and were asking us about suggestions. You can customize the list of files that are to be signed or not. You can temporarily disable signing in Advanced Installer for your daily builds if you don't need it for the builds that just go to your testing team or some other scenarios. And of course, as I said initially, just check with the team that is providing you the certificate to make sure they have a flexible enough quota or the pricing is acceptable. If you assume you will go over that limit of files to be signed. It is not our interest to integrate and to resell any other software that is not built by us, because this is not our main business. There are many other companies that are much better at reselling and managing this type of activities. Our focus is into building you and providing you with a tool that helps you to build the best installers. And usually the certificate, once you buy it, it's much easier to maintain it now, because from our experience in the Microsoft Cloud, all we have to do is to click some confirmation pages to renew our profile as a vendor in the platform, and the certificate was already there. We didn't have to change anything in Advanced Installer, in the build pipeline. Everything worked as before. It was just some validation. I assume other vendors will provide the same workflow for you to revalidate your company identity every 1 or 2 years, and everything will work smoothly without having to change anything in the pipelines. In the past, it was harder because you had to redeploy the certificate on the build machines. Maybe you had to sign with both the old certificate and the new certificate, where cases where you have to do some cross signing for patches or other scenarios of this way. But this won't work, won't be a problem anymore. If you have any other questions after this webinar, as I said, feel free to email us at support@advancedinstaller.com, and we'll be glad to help any way we can. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being our customers, and have a great week. Bye.